if you're the primary caretaker of people, the buck always stops with you.
Yep.
It always stops with you.
Maybe that.
But not to be not to be gender essentialist, because I'm not. But like, one wonders if biologically you're driven to have the buck stop with you.
Yeah. Well, it does seem that way in your case.
You tear down the house, then you put up the rent. You pocket the cash, and you crush all dissent.
Welcome to the Red Diaper Peel, episode 35. We're recording on April 26, 2026. It's a podcast about art, culture, history, politics, technology, and parenting from the left perspective, and my name is Simone.
And I'm John Paul. The 17th attempt on the president's life occurred yesterday.
That's a headline. You can't get that headline.
As we all know, it was fake and only there to hit the ballroom. But I just think in this world of destabilization and violence, it's very hard to make small talk.
It's also hard to make small talk when all you do is take care of your children.
Yeah.
Unless you want to talk about...
You had a long week. I worked. You were with the kids all week. How was it being a stay-at-home mom with free-range children?
I mean, it was fine. It was better than the last school break where I was trying to work and they were all just mad at me.
Mm-hmm.
So it was fine. Went by pretty quick. I mean, we had ice cream every single day. Yeah. We had ice cream.
Did you really?
Basically had ice cream or cheeseburgers every single day. So that's not a sustainable stay-at-home mom situation.
I guess not. We had to pack in like a year's worth of ice cream and cheeseburgers into a single week.
Yeah. It's also nice to just say yes. At one point, we were leaving one event, and they were like, we want Shake Shack. And I was like, okay, fine. And they were like, oh,
really?
How'd that work? Why'd that work? What? Can we have milkshakes and double cheeseburgers? Yes, you can. What? It was like 2 p.m. So that was nice.
Yep.
But they're going back to school tomorrow, and I have to go back to work.
How much did Shake Shack pay you to tell that story?
We're sponsored by Shake Shack now. God, that'd be
In-N-Out Burger. If you want us to shit on Shake Shack, you know where I get in touch.
But I would rather Shake Shack sponsor us because we eat there, and I'd like some free Shake Shack.
Okay, Shake Shack. If you don't want us to shit on you, you know where to contact us.
It would be nice to get a sponsorship if it was a food our children will eat.
Yeah.
Eggs, if you'd like to sponsor.
Big eggs. Annie's mac and cheese. Mac and cheese.
Our middle, who has a habit of eating the entire thing of berries, the blueberries are gone.
Yeah, I noticed that.
It's just you put an entire thing of berries next to him at dinner time, and he eats every single last one of them.
What is that?
Driscoll's Farms. If you're in the market for a podcast,
I'll put a video of my 4-year-old eating an entire basket of strawberries.
In fairness, but for real, everyone who listens to this podcast should review it on like Apple Podcasts or Spotify. I mean, I know some of you are like not using the big podcast apps, in which case, whatever, don't do anything. But the people who are using the big podcast apps, just please, if you review it, it's good for the algorithm.
Yeah, we
might get some more listeners, which we would appreciate having.
Yeah, the podcast continues to grow. It's very exciting and fun project, and it's been very fulfilling to watch people's reaction on various platforms to what we have to say. And it will help us immensely if people who are into it for whatever reason share their favorite episode with someone that they know, interact with our content on Facebook and Instagram and TikTok
and Substack.
YouTube. And the liking and the sharing and the reviewing on like Apple Podcasts or Spotify is a huge help.
Yeah.
So take a second and help us out. It does take us, and by us I mean mostly me, like 5 hours a week of extra work to do this. So yeah, help us make it as impactful as we can.
Well, I make sure that I get my hours and hours of reading material in order to be as well spoken and well informed as I am.
Yeah.
As evidenced by my ability to
One of us has to be so.
to drop books I'm reading into conversations.
Yeah.
Okay, well, ready to cover the headlines, Jean Paul?
I am ready for the horrible headlines.
All right. We're going to start with a really heavy one. Israeli forces kill Lebanese journalist in double tapped strike and then block rescue workers for 7 hours. Israeli forces killed the prominent Lebanese journalist Amal Khalil on Wednesday, despite a ceasefire between Israel and Lebanon. Khalil and her colleague, photographer Zinbab Faraj, were reporting from southern Lebanon when an Israeli drone struck a car near them, killing 2 civilians. Khalil and Faraj sought shelter in the nearby building, but then Israel struck that building as well. Emergency and medical workers rescued Faraj, but came under fire before they could rescue Khalil and were prevented by the Israeli military from returning for over 6 hours. She had died by that time and was then recovered from the rubble. She is the 9th journalist killed by Israel in Lebanon this year. This year being, we're 4 months into the year. We are not even the end of the 4th month of the year. And this is journalists in Lebanon, 9 of them.
Yeah, so I am so fucking pissed about this. Her friend held her as she slowly died and is herself in the hospital after very narrowly avoiding being killed along with her.
She wouldn't have necessarily died if they'd gotten her help. No, so it was not only a double tap that then they made it impossible for emergency personnel to get
because it was an assassination. And they'd been threatening her before this happened, so it was clearly targeted.
Yeah, Al Jazeera reports Amal had previously received direct threats from an Israeli phone number on WhatsApp warning her to stop reporting. And in 2024, Khalil told local media she had received an Israeli death threat warning her to leave southern Lebanon or risk decapitation. I mean, we're not talking about conspiracy shit.
This is a clearly fascist movement. It's the degree to which they understand journalists as equivalent to terrorists, quote unquote, whatever the fuck that word means now. It can't be overstated. These are enemy combatants. They need to be killed because they are a threat to the state. Anyone telling you what is going on is a threat to the state. So,
the CPJ, the Committee to Protect Journalists, reports that Israel is responsible for 2/3 of the deaths of journalists in 2025.
Right.
One country, one supposed Western democracy, is responsible for 2/3 of the killings of journalists in 1 year.
Yeah.
That should be enough for the entire world to censor and sanction that state.
Yeah. And they want to say, oh, this is not a state policy. This is a mistake. We're going to do an investigation. Every single one of that is intentional. They're targeting these people. They want to remove them. They're threatening them. They're sending drones to chase them down.
They smear them before they kill them.
Everyone who reports what's going on is Hamas.
In her case, Hezbollah.
And if you don't believe me, the CPJ also created a related report to that one, which is worth reading, about the ways in which journalism is increasingly, as we descend into fascism, journalists are increasingly now enemies of every state. So it's happening in a lot of places where they're being executed. But We Return from Hell is about Palestinian journalists who are in prison instead of killed outright. And the stories are jaw-dropping. They consider these people to be enemies, and that they're treating them this way.
These are predominantly Muslim and Arab journalists, too, not white people.
Correct. Although
Western journalists are not necessarily spared, but...
Yeah, that's the thing is, they can't get away with it quite yet because it's harder to say that, Jeremy Scahill is a member of Hamas. But they don't consider these people having any rights. They only consider what is the downside of going after them to us and whether we can do it yet or not. There's no calculation about whether this is immoral, whether it's a war crime. There's this article going around from the Free Press called Introduction to Gazology, which is basically a guy griping. He's an Israeli who lives in Israel, and he's griping about all these books that are coming out now about the quote unquote genocide in Gaza. This what he calls a new literary genre, that's its own basically it's its own has its own internal logic and its own little universe is created, which is completely separated from reality. And you know that because none of the people writing these books have talked to anyone in Gaza, have been on the ground in Gaza, have done everything. Like, how are you completely? I mean, this is the best you've got. Why do you think none of these people? Why do you think that there's no journalists or people who live in Gaza who are writing books about this? You go and kill them all. You seek them out and kill them. I mean, we have stories of 14-year-old kids who are live streaming their existence who are targeted by drones from Israel.
Yep.
You made sure there's no eyewitness accounts intentionally because you know that anyone who sees this stuff is going to be horrified by it.
Yeah. And you have Israelis, respected academic Israelis who might no longer be living in Israel, but who have roots to Israel and have roots to Holocaust survivors who are writing books about how this is a genocide. And those they're not on the ground in Gaza, so I guess they don't count. But you smear them too. I mean, Omar Bartov's newest book, Omar Bartov was very clear, and he's a Holocaust scholar, a former IDF soldier who saw combat, not just like, oh, I did my time with the IDF. Former citizen, is an Israeli citizen who doesn't live there anymore. And the child of Holocaust survivors was very clear very soon after October 7th that this was a genocide. And he has written about it extensively and now has a new book out about what has happened to this nation state and is this what Zionism looks like, basically. And
the answer is yes. This is what it is always. This is what it always are.
He is hated and disdained by.
Yeah, he's a traitor to the people because loyalty is the only thing that's really expected of anybody. There's moral principles of any kind is.
So you could make an argument against all of these people. I mean, they will make. I guess they will make whatever argument they need to make. And if you're saying, oh, there's no academics or journalists or universities or research facilities or anybody left, it's because there's nobody left. You're right. You killed them all. I mean, the free press. Ugh, it's hard to even talk about. It's so disgusting.
Yeah. I mean, I don't have anything else to say.
The bravery.
Yeah, the courage
of these
on display.
People.
Yeah.
I mean, the journalists in Gaza who did it for. There's a story of one, I don't know his name, who got to like the very end and he was there for the celebration of the most recent ceasefire, and they got him during the window of it, like being like, oh, we're not in a ceasefire yet. And then this woman who was a loyal, like a consistent, persistent journalistic force throughout multiple wars with Israel, and she knew she was in trouble. She knew she was at risk, and she just refused to stop reporting. I mean, like, can you, like, it's extremely brave.
Yeah.
And it's absolutely, it seems so silly to call it, like, obviously this is fascism. Obviously this is fascism. That's like the most obvious statement you can, it's like, that's the most basic statement you can make about this.
Yeah, it's not even an interesting conversation anymore, frankly. And I think most of the people who support it know that too. They just don't care because it's the kind of fascism that they're big fans of. But
what's going on with journalists in prison?
They're they're torturing them. They're not giving them water. They're beating them up. The point is to terrify people to keep their mouths shut. They don't believe anyone else is a human being, so it's very, very easy to just.
Yeah, there's a lot of torture in Israeli prisons. Amal Khalil is a leftist.
Yeah.
She was a legit leftist who spent most of her life doing activism and journalism. So it's a terrible loss. So there's that horrible headline. Here's another one. Justice Department authorizes firing squads, electrocution, and gas for federal executions. Pope responds within hours. The Justice Department announced this week it will add firing squads, electrocution, and gas asphyxiation as permanent methods for federal execution as the Trump administration moves to expand and accelerate capital punishment. Pope Leo reiterated the Catholic Church's teaching that the death penalty is inadmissible in a video message released hours after this Justice Department announcement. A couple of items here. There is a supply chain issue with choosing to kill people in the United States.
Yeah, because the companies don't want to be involved in it.
Well, there's a lot.
Partially.
Yeah, partially. So, like, the way that everyone decided was the most reasonable, correct, I don't know, humane way to kill people was lethal injection.
Yeah.
It's the jury's out of whether it's really humane, but right. the cocktail that they want to use is hard to source. And so there's been this, like, backlog of capital punishment inmates actually getting executed in state prisons and I guess in federal prisons for a long time. And then there's like the, will they, won't they? And can we get a different barbiturate? And, oh, we're not allowed to do anything else besides the lethal injection. So what do we do? And so this has kind of been like a tension for a long time. And I guess the Trump administration in particular is interested in accelerating the capital punishment, as one does.
Yeah.
And so this is an opening to allow for greater diversity of methods to kill people.
Right.
In the hopes that it would pick up the pace.
Yeah. Last time they executed a bunch of people who had been sitting on death row for a long time, right at the end of the presidency, which is like, you needed to murder a bunch of people.
Oh, at the end of Trump one, they did that?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I vaguely remember that.
I mean, can you imagine? And then Biden, who I guess is the only good Catholic that's ever run for president, commuted a bunch of people down to life sentences to avoid that happening again.
Yeah, I mean, one of the things is the longer someone sits on death row, the more likely they're going to be exonerated because there's huge numbers of projects moving forward to try to many people who are on death row probably shouldn't be on death row.
Yeah.
And there's people who take very seriously this as a justice issue, whether because they're extremely Catholic or they're extremely oriented around not killing other humans, or they just care about justice in the U.S. court systems. But they mobilize around death row inmates because that's the greatest error, I guess, would be to kill someone. So for every 8.2 people executed, one person's exonerated. So it's higher than 10% exoneration rate. But
if you kill them, then you don't have to
worry about that problem.
This goes back to our conversation last week about J.D. Vance. Everything that they do is justified on religious grounds, except for the other things that they want to do that they can't. So they just justify it on secular grounds. So we have, on the one hand, abortion is murder. It's murder in every case. There is no exception. Nothing contextual matters. The consequences to women in society don't matter. It has to be prevented. Not just we're not going to do it, but we have to keep you from doing it. Mm-hmm. And we are willing to do whatever it takes to keep you from doing it. Because that's we're supposed to believe that's a sincerely held religion.
You won't go to heaven unless you fight against, tooth and nail against abortion.
Right. And the consequences be damned. We understand that people are going to die. We attended a book signing event for Amy Littlefield's newest book, The Killers of Roe. And she said that when the global gag order is in effect, the incidence of pregnant women dying globally goes up by 10%, which is mind-boggling. Mm-hmm. That is an enormous amount of unnecessary death.
Yeah. That's one of the first actions most presidents take when they take office is they sign in or out the global gag order. It's with very little fanfare. And we're just supposed to accept, there's a Republican in now. I mean, this has not always been the case, but it's been flipping Republican Democrat for every, 4 to 8 years for the last several decades. And they just do it. And no one really stops to think about the millions of women who are impacted by that instantaneously.
Because they're not Americans. But, and you have to imagine that because of the flipping back and forth of this law, we can get those numbers even lower if there was a consistent, sustained effort that wasn't impeded by the reintroduction of the gag rule every 4 to 8 years.
It was probably easier before Musk obliterated all of the state departments that were funding a lot of these things. But yes.
Kidding. And it's probably even worse now. The numbers haven't come in from Trump too, but it's probably far worse than a 10% jump. But that's all a necessary evil, because there can be no compromise on this moral principle. Mm-hmm. And at the same time, the very good Catholic J.D. Vance, we must keep in mind that these executions are necessary because it makes society function. Society falls apart unless we have the death penalty there to dissuade people from doing things they're not supposed to do. None of these people have been dissuaded by the death penalty. They're all have done the thing and gotten caught for the thing, allegedly, and are now going to be killed for it. And so the point is not to prevent these things because they've happened. The point is cruelty, retribution, vengeance.
And power.
And exercise
of
power.
Yeah.
Right. But if you were if you believed that you had a chance of having your immortal soul go to hell over this issue, there's no way you risk that because you want to make Donald Trump look good. They don't believe in God. They don't believe in anything.
And I think Biden does, because this only applies to to people on federal death row. Mm-hmm. There are 3 people because Biden commuted 37 people before he left. So in real terms, we're not actually impacting that many people's lives, which I guess is good. But it gives you a sense of like, if you really do think you're going to burn in hell, you exonerate you commute the sentences. Yeah. You do not chase down firing squads as an option.
In 2024, while they were running, J.D. Vance said that they were going to support the death penalty for drug dealers.
A piece of shit.
I don't know about Protestants. I mean, the Protestants have a variety of
views.
They have a variety of views on death and abortion and death penalty and all that stuff, contraception. They're striding about the abortion stuff as Catholics are. They may have some theological flexibility about the death penalty. Catholics do not.
Yeah.
It is very clear that the Pope is here to tell you what God thinks about these things, and they have been saying it. Not this last one. But yeah. Pope after Pope after Pope have told you this is murder. So you are a murderer if you do this. So good luck to you, I guess. I hope being a somewhat famous guy for one term was worth going to eternal damnation. I mean, there's nothing you could say at this point that would convince me these people believe in God. They only believe in themselves. They don't believe in anything else.
Well, at least Trump's consistent because I believe he does believe he's God.
Yeah, he certainly does. I mean, he doesn't believe in it. You've seen his interview where he's like, what's your favorite Bible verse? All of it. Love all of it. They're like, what's your favorite? Would you like the Old Testament or New Testament? Equal. Like, why don't you ask him a question? Can you name two disciples? Can you name two disciples? Who Adam?
Ben and Jerry.
Adam and blank. Tell me anything about the Bible. Anything about the Bible at all that you know. You know anything about it whatsoever?
Yeah, well, I do wonder, like, whose agenda was this that we need to get firing squads? But like, did Trump chase that down? Did J.D. Vance chase that down? Like, who cares about this? Are they really mad that Biden took away 37 people they could have killed? I guess they probably are.
Yeah,
really good. I mean, good folks.
What will happen is the firing squad will be used for summary execution of enemies of the state. That'll be I think that's where that's headed. So it's a political thing.
And they don't want, they want to make sure they have open lanes to execute as quickly and efficiently as they need to, both federally, and they want a state precedent. And being behind the pharmaceutical companies was proving to be a problem because pharmaceutical companies were either getting pressured, a lot of them are international, so they had other pressures, or they're getting pressured by consumers, which is great, effective activism, and, the government knows they can always use a firing squad. So that's why I'm only in favor of gun control for the government. Okay, let's do another horrible headline because this is really, I think I can really feel our listeners, like they're excited they tuned in. So last night being Saturday night, we're recording on Sunday. You're going to listen to this later in the week. But this weekend, a gunman opened fire at the White House Correspondents' dinner. Trump was evacuated along with all of his other important men that had to be evacuated, often in front of their pregnant wives. I guess the Secret Service does know who they're supposed to protect.
Not Erica Kirk, it turns out.
She was not pregnant, and she also was very sad about it.
Did you see her walking by going, I just want to go home?
I mean, there's been a lot of takes on social media that seem really, like, stupid and, like, cheap shots, and I'm not going to participate, actually. I think she probably does want to go home.
Yeah.
That probably sucked.
I probably would want to go home, too. Right?
Usha Vance was not there, so she's not one of the pregnant women that had to be pushed aside to get her.
Come?
Because why would she go to such a terrible thing? But Stephen Miller's wife was there, and then I saw a stupid take on social media where it's like, Stephen Miller using his wife to shield himself against the shooter. But like, I watched the whole video. He was shielding her, Secret Service was shielding him, and then they walked out in a line. Yeah. So she was just in front, which is not the direction the shooter would have been. So like, guys, there's plenty to attack them on. Like, that's not... Yeah. Anyways, so there was a shooter at this hotel where they have the dinner. They evacuated the people. Trump came on and did a press conference. He made sure to point out that his ballroom would have been much more secure. They will reschedule within 30 days. We now know a little bit about the shooter, supposedly, if you believe any of the coverage about anything. It's a young man in his 30s from California. He has a very mini manifesto, a mini Manny.
A mini Manny?
And it seems like he was trying to kill. I mean, the manifesto is like, I'm very unhappy with Trump and the people in his administration, but I don't want to hurt any journalists.
Yeah, or hotel guests or hotel staff. He didn't even really want to hurt hotel security or even Secret Service, which is why the one person he shot didn't die, because he selected a type of shotgun shell that was not going to pierce armor.
He did?
On purpose, yeah.
Oh, well, that's
It's the most
thoughtful.
It's the most like
liberal,
dumb assassination attempt in the history of the world.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
The thing is, like, I have a couple of thoughts. One is you have to be relatively self-deluded to try to pull one of these things off as a lone wolf. I'm surprised that someone with that kind of weaponry can get as close as he did. But then again, I guess these people are kind of like, I mean, lots of people are really unhappy and lots of people are really disturbed by this administration. Lots of people are not great at making like calculated risk assessments about what they should be doing with their lives. And then they do things. And so I guess when you have that many people that could be doing things like this, some amount of them are not going to flag earlier. I did not know that he made a conscientious choice to not kill the security on his way in.
Mm-hmm.
Probably did not help him in his success. Like, I don't think that made him more successful.
Yeah. He also seemed to believe that, like, when people were reading the manifesto, he would have killed multiple members of the administration and then be in the hospital.
Yeah.
Which is like, dude,
well, I guess you don't know. You got to write the manifesto
as if
you believe in. Otherwise, what are you doing? He was not killed.
Or even shot.
Right.
He wasn't even shot. He was shot at, but
he was shot at, but not hit. I don't know. It's a thing. It's an event. I mean, there's some weird stuff. Carolyn Levitt before the event said shots would be fired tonight, which is not a great turn of phrase. There was a huge number of everyone was there. Like, I don't know who they had in the bunker because everyone was there.
Yeah.
Is that like
incredibly strange?
Is that like an administrative failing, or is there somebody along
it's a humorous failing. I think most of them.
There's somebody along the line. There's somebody obviously in the chain of, like, what do they call it? The chain of succession that wasn't there. But like the Speaker of House was there. J.D. Vance was there.
The Treasury Secretary is like has to hang out by himself in the bunker. He's like drinking scotch, watching on TV. God damn it.
Do you have a theory about it being a false flag?
I don't think it was a false flag. I think if you were to tell me that the first one where he's like ear was shot off and magically regrew, if you told me that, if you said here's definitive proof that was a false flag that was planned by the administration, that would surprise me. This one feels like a liberal guy who, like many liberals, was not serious about thinking about how to make the world a better place, but was mostly concerned about like how to deal with his personal feelings of personal responsibility in a world where these things are being done in his name. And he couldn't handle that. And he sort of felt that he had a responsibility to do something and he was going to take that seriously. And I commend him for not being a hypocrite, I guess. But terrorism is not going to change anything. And it's also not a very serious way of engaging with these problems. It's much more of like an individualist.
Yep.
I have to do something. It doesn't matter what the effect is. I have to.
Right. I can't handle this being how it is. I'm too disturbed. I must take action.
Yeah.
Which also, that type of like calculated, like, I don't think it's reasonable to call all of these lone wolf acts of violence, political violence or otherwise, terrorist violence. There's different categories that these things can fall into. I don't think it's that helpful to call them all like mental health problems, but I do think that if you are so individualized that you look at this situation and say, well, I just have to do something, and you don't think about it practically, and you don't think about impact, and you don't think about what you can be part of, and you don't think of more broadly, there's at least self-delusion and self-aggrandizement in there, and it makes me concerned about your mental health. That said, this is a young man in America. I'm concerned about all of their mental health.
Yeah.
It's not great for men.
Yeah.
And men between the ages of 20 and 50 seem particularly unwell. And I think, I think it's BS when everyone's like, oh, it's mental health or, oh, it's, but like,
yeah,
I don't think he's making good decisions.
Yeah. I mean, he doesn't have a mental major health problem
that we know of.
And
we won't know. They won't.
And
I bet you we will find we will get no more information.
Yeah. I mean,
he'll be just like the Charlie Kirk guy. We get no more information.
Yeah. You won't hear about him for 2-3 years. Then you'll hear that there was a plea deal. and you'll be like, I forgot that even happened.
Yeah.
It completely slipped my mind that someone tried to shoot up the Coorespondent dinner and didn't get past the lobby. But I agree with you. The individualism is an attack on people's mental health, an intentional attack on people's like the integrity of their like sense of self and sense of place in the world
And sense of efficacy.
Yeah, and that's
agency.
certainly at play here, I would think. I have some other questions. Why is Kash Patel not included in the list of targets? That was
the most interesting part about his manifesto, his mini, was that he said Trump was the target and anyone else in the administration was also a target in order of like most importance, right? Like the most important one, most a target, I guess. He's an engineer, so I guess he had to get very detailed about his approach. And then he said, except Mr. Patel.
Yeah.
Why?
Yeah, why is he not included?
So then I was like, last night when this was all happening, you were like, Politico has a leak that they're firing Kash Patel. So I'm like, maybe he knows Kash Patel's gonna get fired, so he doesn't want him to be
right. You don't have to kill him. He's already
on his way out. Or does
that would just be a waste of it.
Does he think he's like just like security? Like he's like I'm not targeting security. I'm just targeting people.
Yeah.
Or does he think Kash is just like so not in the in group?
Yes, or such a doofus that it's not even.
Or does he have a personal relationship with Kash Patel? I mean, we have
Kash Patel called this. He thought he was fired. He called this guy up. Look, it's go time.
Oh my God.
They axed me. That's just one thing you can't do.
I mean, maybe these two like hung out at some point.
I don't think so.
In 10 years ago.
I don't think so. But
it's odd.
I don't know what the explanation is, but I would.
Poor Kash is like, I'm already on thin ice. Why is this guy saying I'm not included in the kill
Yeah, let
list?
me be. Why heal? Well, I'm not good enough to be on the hit list.
Well, now they're going to suspect me. They're going to suspect I'm turning a blind eye on the potential assassination attempts.
The other interesting thing, and I agree that that's really funny. I would like to know. The other interesting thing is the way he did this is he checked in the hotel the day before. No one looked in his bags. He had a bunch of guns on him.
I mean, no, when's in a hotel ever looked in your bags?
Never. I mean, I've never checked into a hotel the day before every single poor person in the United States is going to be in one room, but in the floor beneath me.
Well, the media said that right away. They say immediately they started covering it. And they said to get into the event, you needed an invite and you needed to go through security. But you didn't need to have an invite or to go through security to be in the hotel.
Right. Which is how he got as close as he did, I guess, as close as he did, not being that close. But anyway, like he writes about how there's like a hubris here and he was bewildered by it. Like he expected to have a lot harder time getting into the hotel. And I have to agree, like there's something very strange about that.
Mm-hmm.
All of like 50 people tweeted at the same time about the stupid ballroom.
Yeah.
But there's a good point there, particularly if this is the level of incompetence. I mean, that could have gone much, much differently.
Maybe. I mean, there's a lot of hubris. There's a lot of self-aggrandizement. This is a particularly more volatile political moment with a more hated, more divisive president than we've probably ever had in recent history. So there's going to be higher likelihood of threat. He believes, it's akin to Abraham Lincoln. It's just because he's such an impactful guy.
Right.
Which is also a level of hubris that's special. I wouldn't want to work. I mean, I kind of feel for Secret Service people, honestly. I feel like the security situations they're put in are much riskier than they need to be. But then again, those people made choices. One more. I think we should note that we're going to release this episode the Tuesday before May Day.
Okay.
May Day is Friday, May 1st, 2026.
Indeed.
There is a fairly large strike planned. No work, no school, no shopping.
In multiple cities in
multiple cities, modeled after what they did in Minnesota, supported by major immigrant rights groups, supported by major the Chicago's Teachers Union, the NEA, the AFL, the American Postal Workers Union, have all pledged various forms of support. And you all should participate in whatever way you see fit.
That's true. The origins of May Day, which is the real Workers' Day, not Labor Day, but May 1st, International Workers' Day, is a U.S. History of the fight for the 8-hour day, the police killing a bunch of people, and then blaming the people they were shooting at and executing their leaders.
Mm-hmm.
And you should look into the history, but the whole world recognized the day that this happened as a day for international worker solidarity because they saw how important that struggle for the day was and how brave working class leaders in the United States were, which I think is an important thing. This is not like some sort of weird like Russian thing.
What's the when was that history in the United
1986, I think.
1880.
Sorry. Reagan.
look
Yeah,
it up.
Reagan. 1886 was when August Spies and the others were killed in Chicago, the Haymarket Affair.
Yeah.
In 1888, I believe, was when it was adopted as the Worldwide International Workers' Day by the communist movement of the time.
Yeah, that's right. 1889 to honor the Haymarket martyrs.
Yeah.
A really important and undertold history. Is the only official holiday in the Simone and JP household. And I obnoxiously, when we get notes home from teachers that are like, "Do you celebrate any special holidays in your house?"
Do you always say May 1st? Yeah. That is so obnoxious.
It's so obnoxious. I mean, I do it as political education, you know?
What are they talking about?
Yeah, they have to Google something.
That's why we name our dog the crazy things we named him.
We can't tell you. Those you might trace us. So it's May Day. I will say that I was Googling some things about this for various reasons, personal reasons, and I found that this is not a general strike. This is not being called a general strike. It will not be a general strike. There will not be major work stoppages across industries. However, major unions are targeting May Day 2028 as a general strike day. The United Auto Workers and other unions have said that is the day that they would intend to do a major general strike, and they have like contract expirations timed for it and so on. And they are telling their people that these actions now are a way to build capacity to be able to do a general strike. I don't know if you all have noticed, but like now that we're not in 1886, the capacity of American labor to strike and or even have like significant voice is limited.
So we're told.
Well, anyways, I thought it was interesting that they have a plan.
Yeah, I just appreciate they've really connected with the sense of urgency and the stakes.
The urgency and stakes are a little off, but also like a few years ago, you did not have the United Auto Workers and other major unions putting resources towards building capacity for a general strike or even using it as a tactic or even considering using it as a tactic. And you certainly weren't having them. They weren't coordinating their contract expiration dates.
No, I guess so.
If you're a capitalist, you do not want major unions coordinating contract expiration dates.
I guess.
That is a risk.
Yeah.
If you're a capitalist, you only care about one quarter ahead.
Yeah.
So you're not currently paying attention to this. But when we are at episode 175.
And the U.S. is at war with Oregon, demanding that they give up their nuclear. We'll have a strike then. That'll be good.
Well, I mean, they're anticipating that there will still be things to strike about.
When everyone who has ever had a Blue Sky account is riding their cattle cars.
I've always been against Blue Sky. Well, anyways, I guess perhaps I found some hope in that, but John Paul has made it a horrible headline as well. Anyways, have a good May Day.
Yes.
Is what I'm saying.
Not me. I'm holding it for 2020.
I'm not going to do anything this year. I'll wait a couple of years.
Obey your commands. You grab at the land with both of your hands. But candles will burn and time will reveal all that you've done and the money you steal. The suffering you're causing gives you no pause for thought. You got your claws in the dead summer's heart. Birds will return as the birds always do. When they come home to roost, they'll feast on you. Your pies will fade as you grow old. Your pies will fade.
So usually we go back and forth on the artifact, but I don't have my shit together. So you have picked this another artifact for us 2 weeks in a row.
Yeah. So I found this reel from someone breaking down the strangeness of the trad wife wearing nice clothes while cooking things from scratch phenomenon.
Okay.
Which I'm very familiar with because I see a ton of it.
I'm not familiar with this at all. My algorithm has never served this to me.
So it would be weird if you had picked this
is then sorry about that.
So anyway, I do think it's time that we did do an episode on like what's going on with women. We've done like the what's fucked up about men a few times.
I'm not sure that this.
Women be fucked up too.
I'm not sure this is about the women though.
Okay.
Anyways, this man, there's a man. I don't know this account now. Mason Rickie at Mason Rickie, house in French Rickie.
And he's a hater.
Well, he has a sociological take on what this is what's happening here. He references a sociologist who's got a take on the leisure class, and he's got a breakdown of why these reels are popular.
Okay.
The reels we're talking about are like Nara Smith is one of them. Ballerina Farm is one of them. I guess for people who don't know what that is. A millennial women know who those people are.
I have never heard of these women before in my life.
Well, I've talked to you about Ballerina Farm before.
You forced me to look at these people before we recorded,
like,
but I've never seen them before.
It's like the glamorization of a particular type of trad wife stuff. It's like women looking spotless in spotless kitchens doing sourdough bread and also
cereal and
let me make
marshmallows.
Let me make cinnamon toast crunch from Strat. Let me get my unpasteurized milk and turn it into mozzarella from scratch. I mean, Ballerina Farm's a whole industry, but there's a lot of these like trad wife glamorization accounts.
Okay.
So this guy's.
Do you understand the appeal, or does it appeal to you?
I mean, I do watch. Yeah, because I think some of the appeal is absurdity. Because like in the case of Nara Smith, she's wearing like high couture fashion.
Yeah.
And making like very time-consuming food.
The most jaw-dropping thing about her and the clothing is unbelievable.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's
high fashion.
Yeah. But the most amazing thing about her, she's not white. I expected all these people would be.
Oh yeah, they're not all white. She's a former model. I think she's a complete creation of an agency. But I watched Ballerina Farm. I mean, there's something very appealing about this like from scratch lifestyle where you see this like ultra competence of like making your own food or being like this is all produced, but like a highly competent mom of a bunch of people feeding them like high quality, healthy from scratch food. And of course, it's also highly edited and produced, so it looks aesthetically pleasing and it sounds good. And
I mean, it sounds almost like ASMR to me, particularly Nara.
So she'd voiceovers in her weird like.
Yeah, that sounds like intentionally ASMR. I'm sure she's not tapping.
I whisked it together until I was done with that. It's funny she does the voiceover, but the writing is poor, which is odd because I'm sure it's this agency produced. So
that's
like,
part of the.
So it's like, and then I whisked it together until I was done with that step.
The woman, I'm much more interested less in why these women do this, and much more interested in why women like you consume the content, are interested. And I suspect that part of the reason is that the voiceover is poorly written is that smart millennial girl boss women such as yourself need to feel like this woman is a dummy.
That is so interesting that the male perspective would be, I must be doing it because I want to hate on the other woman. No. Because I got to be better than the other woman.
No. I'm not saying that you need to hate her. I'm saying that there's a
to be clear
web. There's being spun here.
I neither hate her nor feel in competition with her. I actually watch a lot of these tradwife people who are like, I watched this one who's much less like aesthetic, but has this like down country like farmhouse vibe.
And her you hate?
I don't hate her either. I like the comment about it being poorly written has more is like a curiosity to me that this is so highly produced. And that some of it feels so straight, childlike, maybe, or just like, why would you miss that? Why would you produce everything about this down to like the utensils you're using, and then write sentences that are so easy to edit and clean up? And I guess maybe they're trying to make the women look stupid.
Not stupid, but childlike, I think is the right word.
Well,
it's a part
she's definitely
of the aesthetic. Both her and some of the other ones that are like all like these like super dressed up, super like breathy talkers are very childlike in their presentation. Yeah. That's true. Yeah. All right. Let's hear what this guy has to say. Yeah, let's hear what this guy has to say so we can hear about what other guys have said about this. I have no opinions.
Have you seen this face before? For those of you who haven't, this is Nara Smith, a lifestyle creator who is known for standing in front of a marble counter in these flowing dresses and making something from scratch that no reasonable person needs to make from scratch. She'll make marshmallows or Pop-Tarts, even cereal. Her videos rack up millions, tens of millions of views, and while she's not the only person making videos like this, she's definitely the most prominent. But this got me wondering, what's the fascination with her? Why is it that we can acknowledge the absurdity and the fantasy of what she's doing, but can't help but watch?
It is funny that he's like, this is obviously absurd to make these things from scratch. And I watch the videos and I'm like, she just spent 3 hours making cereal and she has like a half a serving of cereal. So I understand. So I'm like, this is absurd. But then there's a part of me being like, maybe she's right though. Maybe we should be doing that. Like I see people making like there's a whole thing about, do you make your freaking goldfish cheddar crackers from scratch? I see all these people who are like, it's so easy, just do it. And then you watch them with the little freaking goldfish cutters and you've made 35 goldfish. I cleaned 35 goldfish out of my car this week. Like, what's 35 and then there's a dissonance because I'm like, maybe I should be doing, maybe that is the answer.
So you would value the goldfish more if you spent that much time on it. You wouldn't.
Maybe this is the answer. Yeah, maybe the answer. Maybe everything's wrong with my life and I need to make my crackers from scratch.
That's
and
part of the appeal also.
Yeah, it's in my head, but then you're like, well, she really does only have like 15 Cinnamon Toast Crunches.
Let the men in this podcast and the one that you brought into the podcast assure you it is completely bananas to spend your time doing that. It's way too valuable for you to be making goldfish from scratch.
You think I should feel reassured by the men?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
That
That
must be what I've been doing wrong. Yeah, that's what I'm doing wrong. What does JD Vance think I should be making goldfish?
I can guarantee you his wife's not making fucking goldfish.
No, she's too smart. Okay, carry on.
All right,
Well, to answer this, we need to look to American sociologist Thorstein Veblen and his 1899 text, The Theory of the Leisure Class. His foundational argument is that in stratified societies, status is communicated not through what you produce, but through what you visibly decline to produce.
Are you familiar with Veblen's Theory of the Leisure Class?
I am not.
I was not either.
It's also a very interesting place to start on an absurd amount of labor for something that we can easily get produced through our highly developed production system. To start with a theory about not working, but
well, your relationship to productivity, I think, is
of course,
an
your relationship to the music production is an important part of fast society.
I had never thought. I've watched a lot of these videos, and I've never thought about it like this is a deliberate commentary on their relationship to productivity. I've only thought about it as this is a deliberate commentary on how their sort of culture and aesthetic and their politics around family rearing or family management.
Okay. I mean, I think implicit in this is the understanding that her husband's income is such that she has all the time she needs to be doing this, as opposed to making more money than her husband. Right. So there is at least the understanding that there's a certain level of baseline wealth coming into the house that allows for her time to do.
Well, it's not clear. It's not coming from her.
It's not clear?
No.
I mean, the early trad wives you're absolutely not working.
Right. And Nara
Nara
Smith has a lot of things where she's like, my husband was hungry and so I decided to make him. And it's implying that she's like serving him, but also you watch her and you're like, you're clearly a former model. You're clearly wearing high fashion. Who's really making the money here?
Wow.
So to me, she's always been a little bit like, I don't know how to square this circle, but.
Yeah, there is I do think there's a disconnect between the aesthetic and the use of the aesthetic as a money making. Yeah. There's a obvious anyway, go ahead.
All right, go ahead.
An example he used was the aristocratic wife who didn't cook, whose refinement was a signal of her family's standing. Labor for productive reasons in Veblen's framework is tainted and signals necessity, and necessity is the enemy of prestige. But what makes Nara Smith so interesting is that it's an inversion of this framework, but it arrives at the same destination. She's in the kitchen, she's doing the labor, but the labor is so exquisitely unnecessary that it transcends utility.
So the point here is, in a society where class has to do with your relationship to the means of production, the less labor you have to do, the higher class you are, which means it's something to brag about. But having to do labor as something to sort of hide or like scoff at or whatever.
Which is problematic for the trad wife movement, because the idea of traditional gender norms and raising traditional good old American families seems to be that they want the women to do it. They want the mothers to be mothering.
Mm-hmm.
They're not, and I say they, I mean like the administration and the propaganda around the administration and these mainstream trad wife accounts are not being like, oh, I have a full-time, three or four full-time nannies taking care of my children because I'm wealthy. They overplay the role of this one woman in doing these things, making the bread from scratch, making the butter from scratch, homeschooling the kids, darning their clothes.
Yeah.
And
it's almost
they
like
hide the actual staff that are doing those things, especially in terms of these accounts. So it is an odd.
But that breaks the spell. The spell is doing these things not because you can't afford someone else to do them, but doing them because the act of doing it is good for you, and more importantly, good for your family. That you're the one doing it. Like the other thing would be like, the people who grow like really long fingernails.
Mm-hmm.
That's the sign of like, I don't have to do anything for myself,
Mm-hmm.
right? That's like, I guess I'm curious why he's starting here. I guess we're curious what he has to say, but like they aren't going out of their way to say I don't need to work. That's how important I am, how wonderful I am.
Well,
I don't have to do anything.
Veblen's leisure classes is from 1899, and I don't think it holds up with what conservative the trad wife conservative aesthetic. I think it's antithetical too.
Right, but like there is also still like the super capitalist who doesn't have to work.
Yeah, there is.
That's like a highly esteemed lifestyle. So this is a different thing, and it exists in parallel with the thing he's talking about, the actual leisure class.
Yeah.
So
Although I also follow accounts of like the super wealthy, a lot of them are Mormon, the super wealthy in Utah and LA and New York. And they're like these like extreme uber wealthy families that are clearly spending enormous amounts of money to support their lifestyle. And then they produce content that's like them doing basic things to take care of their household. And it's like this one woman who's in New York City, they're Mormons, they're in New York City. So it's like Ubers and blowouts and expensive exercise classes. But she's the trad wife. So you don't see staff, but you do see like the ridiculous cost of living.
Yeah. I mean, I'm talking about like the people on Succession, like the wives on Succession. I'm not talking about upper middle class Mormon strivers. I'm talking about
They're higher than upper middle.
Like,
That's upper middle class. I don't know. Oh, okay. So that also exists.
Yeah. And what I'm saying is like this is not a commentary on that. It doesn't seem to be. This is a commentary on you, not a commentary on like Melania Trump.
Sure. Okay. Well, I do think that this aesthetic or this trend is for the masses, not for the
Right. Well, but what I mean is you're not supposed to see it and go, yeah, this is a much better lifestyle than Mackenzie Scott is doing. You're supposed to watch it and go, this is a much better lifestyle than what I'm doing. It's not not a commentary on the leisure class. It's a commentary on like women in the workplace more than anything else.
So we've now established that Mackenzie Scott and Usha Vance are not making Cinnamon Toast Crunch from scratch.
Bro, I don't think so.
And becomes its own form of waste. Veblen also had a term for this called conspicuous waste, which I have a video breaking down the 3 ways distance from economic necessity gets demonstrated by the elite. The cereal is not made from scratch because it's cheaper or healthier, but because the time it requires is itself the signal. She's spending 2 hours on a task that could be accomplished in 2 minutes, and the entire point is that she can afford to. Her time is so abundant that it can be poured into gestures that produce nothing tradable and nothing scalable.
So what I hear here is that her time is actually completely not valuable.
Yeah.
Like he's saying like she's being so absurd and extreme with her time usage that it's like you must have endless time.
Yeah, she's flaunting the fact she has nothing productive to do or no need to do anything productive, so she's spending it all unproductively.
Right, which I guess is a flex to say like I am so leisure that I don't have to use my time productively, which I agree there's a flex there. Like if you have so much money or comfort that you can, do nothing basically with your time, then that I guess positions you as not working class. But
there's a piece of this that's like, it's so vapid. Her time is so valueless, has so little impact. It's hugely vapid, which
That's
is
what he
also
wants it to be, but I don't think he's right about this. So he's
no,
right.
I don't think he's making that point. I think I'm making that point. I think I'm saying like it sort of it underscores how unimportant and silly she is.
He wants it to be the case that this is a flex, that I have nothing productive to do, and I'm going to do this instead of flagrantly wasteful. That it's sort of jaw dropping.
Or at bare minimum, it's a signal like I am not a productive worker. I am a something else.
Yeah, I think it's actually something more like, because I am such a high value person, I married a very high value partner who has afforded me the ability to spend time the way that women should spend time. So it is not a frivolous waste of time. A frivolous waste of time is scrolling your phone, watching TV, doing things for your individual pleasure that are not productive in any meaningful way. This is, I'm spending time the way I meant to be spending time, which is making things for my family. I'm disciplining myself in the way that I should be, which is going through the motions of these things being necessary when they're not, because it's good for me. It's good for my mind. It's good for my body. It's good for my children to see me doing this.
Yeah.
It's good for my relationship with my husband for me to be doing this. So what she achieves is not the necessity of labor, which is, we are not going to make rent. I have to go out in the marketplace, right? Which is the destruction of womanhood, is being in the marketplace. I don't have to figure out how to sell a bunch of things on Facebook Market. I can do the things, not the things I need to do, but the things that I should do. That's the luxury.
Yeah, I think that's right. And I think that I'm disciplining myself to do it properly. Like she takes it to an absurd level, but like the hair, the makeup, the clothes, the being thin and fit, the having a pristine kitchen. This is like the hyper performance of this extreme fantasy or standard for women.
Yeah.
So it is absurd. It is absurd to wear high fashion and make 26 cinnamon toast crunches and put them in perfect bowls that were like, artisan made.
That she made herself.
Right. And
For the wood in the backyard.
Plastic has never touched any of the food her children have eaten and so on. Like, it's creating an absurd performance, but what it's actually communicating is that this is the standard to which women should be held. They should be beautiful. They should be fit. They should work
industrious.
They should
but not in the market.
No,
outside.
They should be in the private world, be industrious. They should be working. I mean, in order to feed your children and family like this, you'd be working 20 hours a day.
Right. Exactly.
And as an aside, the ultimate irony is that she'll make from scratch foods that are entirely defined by their convenience. She takes food engineered for speed and submits them to the maximum possible domestic labor. It is conspicuous waste in its purest form.
These are things that you go buy in the store. You're not supposed to be involved in the production of these things. You're supposed to get them easily, use them easily. You may say maybe you want a really nice, labor-intensive Easter dinner, but you don't want cinnamon toast crunch.
Right.
Right. So,
well, part of her shtick, Nara Smith's shtick, is she takes the most commercialized convenience food and tends to make that. That is not the shtick of all of these people.
Sure. What is that about? And I would say, like, we could be making the argument, and we have in the past pointed out, that people's disconnection from the production process, right, and their like very specific role in it, alienates them and themselves from the world, and that if they're more involved in production, they feel less alienated, right? So we've made that argument.
Yes.
Particularly about meat, I think, but in general, we can make the argument.
Yes.
So is part of the fantasy here and the longing is a reconnection with nature and like.
Yes, 100%. And like it's less so with Nara Smith, but if you look at like Ballerina Farms or some of the ones I watch, which are more like homesteadery, there is a very alluring and attractive, at least aesthetic, around like you get your eggs from your chickens and you bring them in and you use your cast iron on your old timey stove and you like. I mean, Ballerina Farms, she has an entire brand of unpasteurized milk that may or may not be killing people now. But like, there's a longing for a way of being that is, I guess, traditional American, but it also happens to be aligned with like being a little bit closer to production.
Yeah.
However, all these people then turn themselves into businesses to sell you shit. Like Ballerina Farms' major product is a protein powder.
Yeah. I mean, so
So they're
we have to deal-
commercializing
We need to
the
put-
fantasy.
Right. We need to put aside the fact that like the fantasy is a lack of alienation. I think that's what they're selling. They are so alienated. Their like literal personality is alienated from who they are. Like they're selling themselves in a way that is like akin. I don't want to say prostitution.
It is. No, I think it is.
It's akin to that. Yeah, it's like a whole selling of self. It's alienating not just you from your labor, but you from your own.
I think that if you're an influencer who's got any sort of healthy sense of self, you have completely compartmentalized your performance self and your non-performance self. And in the case of Ballerina Farms, she might actually be held against her will. And if we're listening and you want to send us a signal,
Oh, geez.
I mean,
I can't believe you would participate in pathologizing this poor woman who's just doing this for the love of the game.
you know, the New York Times did an article on her, and the interview is a little suspect.
No shit.
And that her husband is.
Okay. Well, let's not get sued.
I
hear he's got a lot of money.
He's got a lot of money, and he wears cowboy boots, but I'm not sure he farms anything.
Yeah, because he pays people to do it. Because he's a capitalist. He's not a fucking day laborer.
Yeah.
The only way to make money, by the way, is to exploit labor. So if he's got a lot of money coming in, it's not because he's working so hard.
Do you know where his money comes from?
I have no idea.
Let's say he's not worth. Because he is Daniel Nealman is the son of David Nealman. David Nealman is a major airliner tycoon, Brazilian-American businessman and entrepreneur. He's founded 5 commercial airlines, Morris Air, WestJet, JetBlue, Azul Brazilian, and Breezeways. So he is a Brazilian national. They moved to the United States. They became Mormons. And he has this son. He's got a lot of children. But he has the son, Daniel Nealman, who's basically just a wealthy kid because of this guy's like JetBlue
Right.
dynasty.
Yeah, so he's a rich kid.
He's a rich kid. And Hannah Nealman, who was a very accomplished ballerina, left her like life in New York City to be with Daniel Nealman, and now they live in the middle of nowhere. She was also Miss New York City 2010, and the woman also competed in some pageant, like a 60s after giving birth to her last baby.
So this is
I'm like, are you okay? Are you okay?
This is actual royalty. So it really begs the question of why are you doing this at all?
They're making a lot more money.
But they don't need it, right? So why? I mean, this goes back to his point is like the actual flex here is I don't have to fucking do it. The best thing is you don't even know who the fuck I am because why would I care that you know who I am?
Why would they be chasing like protein powder money if they don't want more money? They do not need to put a protein powder brand.
Why? Like that's my question is. Obviously, they want the money.
Because all of them always want more money. That's what these...
But not by working, but by employing other people to work. They hire the influencer. They don't be the influencer.
Well,
anyway.
She's the face of it and doing a lot of labor to do it.
I guess. How often do they make one of these videos?
There's a few a week at least.
So she works for an hour 3 times a week. And they have a bunch of like production people come in and like have fake hands, like putting things in the bowl.
I don't know. It seems like I think some of this feels like it's built off of these women's likenesses. So I think they're being exploited more than an hour or 2 a week. Yeah. But
anyway, okay.
Where were we? I don't remember.
So I agree with you that part of the like promise here is like an end to alienation through what I think is really interesting. And we talked about this with like ideology is the imposition of something on yourself that is not made necessary by your survival, right?
Yes, and an end to alienation with a promise of being closer to certain types of production that impact your family's well-being.
Yeah, and that's a big part of it.
And I think that proximity is a very real...
Yeah, and a lot of this is built around family and the woman's proper place in the family and what it means for the family when the woman is playing her role correctly, which is 1, being childlike, 2, doing manual labor to make everyone else happy, etc. But this is the difference between reactionary and progressive politics, and I do think that this is what this is a very sophisticated sales pitch for women who, even though they're not like worried about money, right? They're not like, I don't think we're gonna have a place to live, type poor. They're doing okay, but they still feel like this fucking sucks. So the fantasy here is a fantasy to sell you a fascist politics. In this case, an idealized past, which explains why you're so unhappy. You don't have this. You don't have this in your life. It's been robbed of you by two things. One, your piece of shit husband who is not the master and commander of the household, but instead one of your kids, right? Instead of you being one of his kids, which is your proper place, it would make you happy. And two, doing all this kind of stuff that's not necessary, but like stuff that you're more constitutionally predisposed to enjoy doing. However, this is the big thing here. And when we talk about alienation and production, it is not the artificial imposition on yourself of activities and roles and stuff that one is like some ideal of like what I should be doing, and two, things that you don't actually, they are not influenced by this dialectic with nature where I'm trying to survive it and nature's trying to kill me. It is the case that the means of production have advanced to the point where the production of cereal takes very little time, right? That is not a bad thing that we need to rush away from. What we do need is to have that process not be made invisible to us by marketers who want us to feel a certain way about purchasing the product in a grocery store and not understand that like human labor is in the cereal. But that doesn't mean we add a huge amount.
Human labor and natural resources are in the cereal.
Yes, exactly.
Both should be
and that's all alienated. Like she is a craftsman more than she is a worker, because she's doing all the parts of production. There's no division of labor at all, right? And that one of the big changes to human society as it grows up is a division of labor and an increase of, so this is actually literally childlike. It's actually taking the human race backwards on purpose as like an affectation. The kind of alienation, the kind of anti-alienation we're looking for is for people to not be stuck in one particular role in production, but to be involved in production in a full, meaningful way, but not make it take longer because on purpose, or not make it more tortured and wasteful on purpose. We're still making cereal as efficiently as we can so we can get back to the things that we really care about, and hopefully those things are like spending time together, learning about things, philosophizing, creating art, things like this.
But yeah,
not like going through the motions of making the cereal take longer because it achieves an ideal,
right,
that's been sold to us.
Well, so some of the things that these influencers appeal to are ideas about health and the goodness or the wholeness of the product, and like an anti-commercialism or like an anti-consumerism thing. So I do think so it's appealing to, it's pushing those buttons in the person scrolling.
I agree.
It's definitely pushing those buttons on me. It also overlaps really interesting with like the Make America Healthy Again crowd.
Yeah.
And it is the case that in a post-capitalist world, there are products that we have now that are based on commercialism and convenience that will not be justifiable then, right?
Yeah. Well, so...
And it might be Cinnamon Toast Crunch.
It depends on what... I mean, the Cinnamon Toast Crunch is developed to maximize profit, not for maximizing human need versus human labor spent, resources spent. So in a different context where you're not alienated from, like, it's not a commodity. That's the big thing. It ceases to be a commodity, which means it ceases to be a thing that you make in order to sell in a market for profit. It becomes a thing that we make together because we choose to, because it achieves certain ends we have, mostly our survival. And this is why, like, the disconnect from survival is so important here, is we want to survive. That means we need to take seriously that we have a limited amount of time, limited amount of resources, and there's things that we need. We need healthcare, we need housing, we need food, and then there's a bunch of stuff we'd like to have on top of that. So how do we achieve that with the resources we have and the time we have? So maybe you do make Cinnamon Toast Crunch, but you certainly don't use dye 34 to make it more appealing. You don't market it. You maybe make some choices about the types of sugar you put in it, right? Which balance health needs with how much time is this actually going to take us? Because we don't have all day to make cereal. We got to collect trash, and we've got to make sure that there's running generators, and we got to make sure that there's medical equipment, right? So you balance all these things out, and what balances it out is, again, not a false narrative about what women in the 1930s were doing, but a true narrative about what the demands of reality are on the species.
Right. So my guess
That's
is
not it. That is literally not alienation.
yeah. So my guess is Cinnamon Toast Crunch doesn't make, but I mean, original life might. And no one gets to watch Nara Smith make sourdough anymore. Like we all are gonna have to give up on that.
I guess so. I mean, there's a
Maybe this is subversive art. Maybe this is
it's not it's fascist art.
yeah, it is.
It's fascist.
Fascist art.
It's like the kind of art that Hitler wanted to make with like the little like houses in the I don't know middle of the day, whatever the stupid shit he was making. That's what he was painting. But it's like fascist art. But something like it that's actual art, I'm sure people would spend their time doing. Like fashion is art. This is not progressive art, but there's fashion that's progressive.
Yeah, there's progressive.
Right?
There's
And I can appreciate like an aesthetic sensibility that's like well thought out and expansive, and so I don't know. Yeah, but this particular thing I think is going.
yeah, we can't. This will have to end. All right, back to our Mason and Rickie.
But here's where it gets even weirder. The labor that signals conspicuous waste is also generating income. Her kitchen is a set. She has a specific wardrobe. The conspicuous waste is being monetized, which means it is in fact tradable, producing brand deals and sponsorships. The performance of Babylonian leisure is itself productive labor, and she is working quite seriously at the appearance of not needing to work. And by not positioning herself as an entrepreneur and instead a wife and mother, she is able to create an aesthetic coherence in her world, so her acts feel timeless rather than a performance. There's no wink, there's no ironic distance, and she can't acknowledge the absurdity, for she would collapse the entire illusion. The power of conspicuous waste is its absolute sincerity.
I mean, I think he's wrong about like you go to a theater and what they say is the show must go on. You never break character. That's not because they're selling you, I don't know, a fantasy, or there's not like they're so into it. There's an understanding that like the audience expects you not to break character. I think everyone knows she's playing a character, right? I mean, you know.
Well, that's I think I don't know. I do obviously like you watch it. I mean, she's so extreme with the fashion and stuff. That you watch
that's
it,
a wink, isn't it?
you
I mean,
watch
isn't
it-
that giving it up?
Well, I don't know. The Instagram feed of millennial women is weird. Like so many of the influencers are so obviously manufactured and produced, but I think there's an assumption that we are all pretending it's real. And there's also accounts that are obviously trolling it, and they have to make it obvious that they're doing that.
Right.
There's like two categories.
That's probably hard to make it obvious.
It is. I've seen ones where they're like, "Are you thought I was serious? Like I was saying the most absurd things ever," and they're like, "No, that's what we're used to. That's we think that's normal."
That's what it is.
So I do think that it is notable that she does not break character, that she takes the absurdity only to like a certain point. It's also notable that all of us are like nodding along. That there's almost like it's like a pluralism of what we accept as normal at this point.
Sure. I mean, is like if you go to like a Shakespeare and they had like the big powdered wigs and the ridiculous rosy faces, and they really sell it, aren't you nodding along in the same way? And don't you have the same expectations that like the ridiculousness of the presentation or the sort of hyper idealization of the presentation adds to the performance as long as they can sell it? Right, that's the key thing, and like the influencers who are not going to be able to do this are the ones who wear the costume, but they look ridiculous. Like this woman doesn't look ridiculous; she looks like a hyper real version of herself.
Right. Well, I think and I also think there's a mix of types here. Like she is doing a high fashion. She looks like a model, but like she's not walking a catwalk. So you're like, it's real, but it's it's not.
Yeah.
And then Ballerina Farms, where you're like, she looks real. She doesn't have a lot of makeup on. Her hair is kind of messy. She's wearing an apron, but you're like, you're running a whole business here, lady. And then I have other ones where I watch they're either feel like more up and coming, or they're just like they're better at being like more real. But but like if you really stop and examine it, you're like, this is your literal job, and you probably have 2 or 3 people working for you to do it. So there's like, it's almost like a suspension of disbelief, so you can consume it at its face value. And if she were to break character, it would break the whole thing down.
Yeah.
If she were to make fun of herself making 6 Cinnamon Toast Crunch, I think my number has slowly gone down. Like, it wouldn't be fun to watch it anymore.
Yeah, or like if she made a reel where she's talking to her like Zoomer assistant about like this dress that they brought her. She's like, I'm not wearing that. That's ridiculous. They're like, no. The focus group said, this is perfect. You need to wear this.
Right.
She's like, okay, I guess. I mean,
Yeah.
that would break the spell.
There's something about this like particular type of aesthetic of this like disciplined, perfect woman that is very much not a real housewife, right? Like those ones are too messy. They break their reality too often. We know too much about them off camera. This is like you're an influencer. You perform something, you show it in reels. You don't have the bloopers and you don't have the messy rumor mills and you don't go on Andy Cohen Live. Like,
yeah, because you're too much of a real woman for all that stuff.
Or you're too much of a portrait of a woman. Like you're meant to be more objectified, more static.
Yeah. I mean, the thing about I haven't watched that much Real Housewives, but it seemed to me that like the cultural underpinning or like the aesthetic underpinning was keeping it real. And this is literally,
It is not
reject.
Real. Yeah.
Those women chose modernity, and these women are forcing themselves to pick tradition.
Right, and in tradition, you don't see. There's no behind the scenes.
Mm-hmm.
Like we all know there is, but there isn't.
Right. There needs to not be for them to sell it.
Right.
Yeah.
Now, I'm telling you, I could spend days talking about distance from economic necessity, and I very well might on this page. So if you want to continue this conversation, please like and follow, and let me know your thoughts in the comments.
We will tag and follow you when we post this.
We shall.
Also, look forward. Simone is going to do a video of herself trying to make scrambled eggs in our really messy kitchen. So look out on Instagram.
Which version of my scrambled eggs do you
The one
want?
with the eggshells in it.
Listen, I have several different versions. I have cheesy eggs where I try, cheesy eggs where one of my children tells me I'm doing it wrong, cheesy eggs where I just make them on demand, and so I make like 2 or 3, and then I have to serve them. But then there's like dried old egg in the pan, and I'm just like, you know what? That's okay. We just do another round.
We're doing another batch.
I have some that I scramble in the pan, and some that I scramble in a bowl. I don't have any of them. I don't have the equipment. You need like a thing that holds your phone above your stove.
I mean, our countertop is definitely not marble. We don't have any wooden bowls that you have whittled yourself. Not a single one.
Our stove is not.
Our stove is quite old.
Instagram appropriate.
No, it's
no,
very...
old is good. Real old.
Oh yeah.
Make it look old.
That's right.
Not
well, new things that look old again. Our stove is actually just like
truly antique, but ours is like
plebeian.
I'm not the one
It's
who.
a very blue collar stove.
Wouldn't it be a better take to have JP do the cooking? Because A, that's subversive, and B, you're the one that does the cooking.
Okay, I'll make you do it. If you get me the right apron, I will definitely do it with you.
I've gotten you several aprons over the years.
Yeah.
You want ballerina farm aprons because those are actually really cool.
That's right. It doesn't have like frilly sleeves.
No.
Not really high collar.
Ballerina farm aprons are very utilitarian, but they're not the traditional apron design. I think they might be French or something. They don't have the ties in the back. It's like literally like a.
The ties are on the sides?
No, there's no tie. There is a single tie, but it's not like strapped. It's like almost like a tunic.
Okay. I don't know what tunic is, but
I don't cook, and I want one of those aprons. That tells you a little bit about my.
Yeah, no. I mean, this is the interesting thing about this too is that it is a scam on women. It's not for me at all, and it is like she's supposed to be a version of a woman that's appealing to men, right? She serves him. She is, attractive, demure, childlike,
childbearing.
Childbearing, not competing for like command of the household or anything like that, right? She's happy as a servant of him and the household, but it's not for men to consume. It's for you, who's made the opposite choice in every respect, including being respectful to me, and yearns for the ability to not have to have done that because you don't want to wake up and see all your family sick and die. So you have to step up and actually do the stuff.
Wait, I didn't follow that.
Like,
are you saying something about unpasteurized milk?
No, what I'm saying is, like, if you took a weekend off, the rest of us aren't going to make it. And you yearn for relief from feeling responsible because someone is taking care of, someone's in command. So you have a role to play, and you don't have
to. But these trad wife people don't get to take any time off.
They get to take...
Trad wives are always working because they have children to take care of.
But they're working in the same...
I don't think there's a way through this for women to have a weekend off. I've looked through all the avenues. Leisure class doesn't seem good. boss bitch doesn't seem good. Trad-wife doesn't seem. How do I get a weekend off?
To be clear, this is what I'm saying.
Are you saying I have to ask Obama for a weekend off?
No. This is what I'm saying. What I'm saying is,
Well, Graham Plattner gets a weekend off.
there is someone who goes to work, has a very specific job to do, does it very well, and goes home. And then there's a person
That sounds
to
like a man.
worry about.
That sounds like a man.
Right. And then there's the kind of work you do where you go and you're responsible for 7 people who have a job like that to make sure that they're happy, they're not quitting. You have to make sure that the product is making it on time and a timeline. You have to make sure that the balance sheet is up to date and correct, that you're going to pass an audit, right? There's
that sounds like my job.
Right. Exactly. There's and that not just at work, but also at the house. There is the ultimate responsibility for everyone, which millennial women have had to assume because the men around them are kids. And what you yearn
Yeah, and there's Gen Xers and boomers at the workplace who are just fucking everything up.
And what is
so then we have to cover them.
Yeah, no kidding.
Zoomers, you're not doing me any favor. And I cover for you. And at home, I have this guy and 5 children.
Yeah. So what you're yearning for is a world in which you just have to show up and do a job that you're expected to do, and someone else make sure that there's everyone's.
But the job,
everyone's paid for, the bills are paid.
I get what you're
the
saying.
house is there.
The guy, the man, leads the household, so I can comfortably do the smaller job
Retire from mental load.
Feel
Retire
secure
from mental load. Yeah.
But the job I'm doing is constantly having babies, constantly nursing babies, constantly homeschooling babies, constantly feeding babies, and homesteading. That is like an absurd.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
It's very labor intensive. I'm not debating that at all. I'm just saying it's the literal the buck doesn't stop with me. It stops with someone else.
Yeah, but
that's
also
fantasy.
That's also untrue. That I understand that's a fantasy for millennial women, but that's also not. It's not even accurate.
Of course not.
If you're in charge.
You think the husband is paying attention where the kids are sick or not?
Well, even if he was, though, if you're the primary caretaker of people, the buck always stops with you.
Yep.
It always stops with you.
Maybe that.
But not to be not to be gender essentialist, because I'm not. But one wonders if biologically you're driven to have the buck stop with you.
Yeah. Well, it does seem that way in your case. I wonder if maybe there's a division here between responsibility for the children and responsibility for the container in which the family.
It's the private versus public thing.
Yeah,
it's that you're responsible for particular things in the private sphere, but you are not all responsible for making sure your family can exist successfully in society and anything in the public sphere. So you're not responsible for money in, you're not responsible for money out. Of course, all of this is complete fallacy for these people because these women are money makers on Instagram.
Yeah, and the husband's hiring an accountant. So
I mean, what are these husbands doing? What are the husbands doing? What are the husbands doing?
I'm assuming being real pieces of shit.
I mean,
abusing her, abusing the kids, abusing the staff.
Hannah Nealman's husband does appear on her channel. I don't know if I've ever seen Nara Smith's husband. Then they had this bad New York Times interview where people were like, "Is she okay?" Then they went to Ireland and did a culinary experience together where they were cooking together, and I think it was completely a PR rehabilitation of they're partners. They both love churning butter from scratch. They both love traditional ways of cooking.
This is not something he's forcing her to do.
This is their
particular idea of what it means to be married.
Their joint passion project. And honestly,
it worked.
It worked. I was like, I buy it. I feel better about them already.
Oh my God.
I don't know who's taking care of her 8 children while you guys are in a cottage in the Ireland countryside and going to full-time Irish cooking school.
The in-laws?
Don't let your kids near those in-laws. My guess is there's a lot of hired help.
Yeah, all the time. She literally almost never takes care of her kids.
Well, she does carry them and birth them. And doing that, plus doing what it appears she's doing in this job of hers, even if it's just the performative part, is a lot of work.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Women are fucked.
Yeah, you all are fucked.
Well, done and dusted?
Your powers will fade as you grow old. 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 You're on the make, and you don't do regret. You're always out for what you can get. You think like a snake, and you ooze like a snail. Let the trail go cold as you swallow your tail. With your low rent skills and your heart of flint, telling your tales that are unfit to print. You're all weasel words, backed up by the boots, obsessed like the rest, with a promise of loot. Your pies will fade as you grow old. Your pies will fade as you grow old. Your pies will fade as you grow old. Your pies will fade as you grow old.
I love you.